The leader, War Admiral, 2.5 for Green.
Next it is in the center of the racetrack. Seattle Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem, he's pulling away. He's got another gear. Yeah, that's Westlake coming the Derby. Wheel away takes command. Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here's the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle Blue of 1977.
Horses continue to arrive. The final works are well underway. There's a buzz in the air that continues to grow. It's time for the Kentucky Derby Work Show presented by TwinSpires.com. Under the Twin Spires in Louisville, Kentucky. Temperature in the 50s. Main track rated as fast. And let's take a look at the headlines. Lots of stuff going on. Some major workouts yesterday, headlined by the likely Kentucky Derby favorite, Omaha Beach. He sizzled 5 furlongs and 59 seconds flat. War of Will, a bullet, 47-3, an eye-popping drill for the Lecompton Risen Star winner. Roadster game winner, they joined Improbable at Bob Baffert's barn yesterday, hoping to get a look at both of them on the racetrack for the first time this morning. And some major workouts today as well. Tacitus, by my standards, headlining those breezers. Joe Christopher alongside clocker and racing analyst Brandon Staubel for the first time. And Brandon, perfect timing for you to sit in the chair next to me. We've had a lot of major workouts already, fast and furious today, and we're going to get your assessments. Looking very forward to it.
Yeah, fresh in from Ocala. I was able to actually come back a day early and came out to the track yesterday for all of the works, was able to see some of those live, so I'll pass my thoughts along on those. And big day today as well. We also get to see some fresh faces too.
Real quick, Brandon, you're on the show. You've done the Breeders' Cup shows. You did this workout show with us last year. What are you looking for in these works? What is a positive from the start of the work to the finish of the work? What are you looking for to tell you that these horses are sitting on go?
Yeah, you just want to see that they're striding out well to the wire. I like, we talk about the ears all the time. The ears are up. They're alert. Going into the Derby, it's a 1.25 mile race, so we want to be under control. We want to be able to have that mind to be able to handle the distance and handle the challenges ahead.
Let's look at the top horses for the Derby while we have a second. We're going to send it to Ed DeRose on the backstretch momentarily. But, Brandon, just your initial thoughts on these 20. We've got 3 or 4 horses on the outside looking in. But when you look at this page, what names stand out to you? Yeah,
obviously Omaha Beach in there. I think Vacoma's a little bit interesting. You've got Roadster, by my standards, up-and-coming horse, Maximum Security. I think about the pace when I look at this page, too. Maximum Security, Omaha Beach may be forwardly placed. I think Vacoma's going to be a pace factor. Improbable looks like he's going to take the blinkers back off for the Derby. We'll find out today. And War of Will also with some speed.
Let's take a look at the horses on the outside looking in, including Bodie Express. Signal Man has been training very well. Sueño and Bourbon War also on the outside looking in, too. Third member of our team on the windy backstretch is Ed DeRosa, standing by with a jockey who will be making his first Kentucky Derby appearance. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Joe. Welcome back to the show, Brandon. Good to have you back. And I am alongside Julian Pimentel, who will be riding Bluegrass runner-up Win-Win-Win in the Kentucky Derby. And Julian will also be riding him this morning in his final Kentucky Derby workout. Julian, what's Michael Trombetta told you about how the horse is doing, and what can we expect this morning?
He said the horse is working very good. Galloping very good. He just want to get a good work into it this morning, going 1/2 mile and let him gallop out.
Unfortunately, you weren't able to get on him last time. You mentioned weather postponed. You mentioned his weather postponed the work at Fair Hill, but seems to be coming in this race from what Michael said. What are you hoping to feel this morning?
Yeah, Melly's been working him anyway, so she always does a good job with him. Just like he said, just let him get some stock. He's going in company, so just stay right behind the other horse, and when it's time, just let him run a little bit and let him gallop out.
And we do have footage of him galloping here. He hasn't had a published work at Churchill yet. That'll come this morning. But has he been handling the track well from what Michael's told you?
Yeah, it sounds like everything is going well.
All right. And do you have the mount back on Win-Win-Win? Always this time of year with Derby starters, musical chairs sometimes with the mount. I'm sure you're thrilled to get the opportunity to run for the Roses with him.
Absolutely, yes. I'm very happy and thankful.
This will be your first Kentucky Derby. Any thoughts? Have you asked fellow journeyman riders their experience with their first one, or how are you approaching being prepared for what is a unique race in the world?
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of guys that have already been on it, and all they have to say to me, they all agree to, is have fun.
Fun is good. Have you discussed strategy yet with Michael in terms of trip, or is that totally post-dependent?
Yeah, not yet. Haven't discussed that yet.
Yeah, waiting on that. All right. You probably have watched the Bluegrass back. Any cues with what you saw on the Bluegrass from Win in terms of what to expect in the Derby?
I see him come. I mean, he always does comes running at the end. So just wait for that when the time is right.
And he set a track record at Tampa with that 7-furlong win earlier this year in the Pasco. Did you know you were on something special when you felt that?
Yes, definitely. Especially breaking as slow as I did that day. He broke step slow, and to set up a track record like he did. I mean, I barely asked him to run that day, and he ran very impressive.
You apply a lot of your trade in the Mid-Atlantic, Julian, and a fan favorite had to ask you about you. Were fortunate enough to ride Ben's Cat in several stakes wins. What was that like?
That was fantastic. That was just great experience, and like very thankful to be able to ride a horse like that.
All right. Well, you have the work on Win today, and in 6 days you ride him in the Kentucky Derby. Any final thoughts?
Just very happy, very excited, and thankful for the opportunity.
All right. Well, we're thankful for you to join us this morning. Wish you the best of luck today and in 6 days. Joe and Brandon, back to you.
Well, thanks, Ed, and win, Brandon. Third in the Tampa Bay Derby, wide trip, a good second in the Bluegrass, closed against the bias that day. To me, he's a live long shot, especially in the underneath positions.
Yeah, also watching that replay, had to check too late at the quarter pole, had a little bit of trouble, and he was coming late. Win and High Call, very similar to me. One-turn runners that have shown some wins, but then they're trying to stretch that out to 2 turns in here. We'll see if that punch, like you said, is enough late. Maybe they're definitely gimmick-type horses.
No question that Omaha Beach can handle 2 turns. He comes into his final workout as the likely favorite for the Kentucky Derby, and certainly didn't disappoint the many backers of Omaha Beach. And Brandon, talk us through this work.
Yeah, Mandela typically has been working this horse behind, so he started 4 lengths back in here. Julian up with Larry Jones on the inside, easily collared the mate in here, and just kind of smooched at him late. We'll hear Richard Mandela in a little bit talk, but smooched at the horse late, striding out well to the wire. The best thing for me about this drill, seeing it live in person, was that Julian just had the lightest of holds on Omaha Beach, telling me that the horse was coming back to him, relaxing, doing what he wanted. You can see right here at the wire, the ears are kind of just flopping. Julian, I wouldn't be surprised if he just had his fingertips on the reins. I mean, the horse was just doing everything perfectly, galloped out well, and in person, it didn't look like he was going 59.
Exactly, and I think that's the most impressive part of this work, because he didn't look like he was going fast, but he was. And trainer Dick Mandela, he couldn't be happier with Omaha Beach.
I don't think we could ask for anything better. He'll walk tomorrow. Next day he might go to the track, or he might ride under the barn if it's terrible weather or something, and then we'll get some gallops in him. One of the kindest, sweetest horses I've ever been around. But he has learned to be a warrior also, so that's a nice combination.
Dick Mandela loves his horses, a great horseman. You see him in the paddock at Oaklawn with Omaha Beach, and some of the great footage of just the connection that he has with that horse and all of his horses for that matter. Next up is War of Will, and I have a connection with War of Will.
Your arm does, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had a chance to visit with him several times at the fairgrounds, and some question marks about this horse coming in to his workouts leading back to the Derby after the Louisiana Derby, Brandon, which was a debacle. But, man, I was very impressed. This is a spectacular move.
Yeah, speed's not going to be a problem with War of Will. They worked him out of the gate 3 works back, got him kind of wanted to test drive him, so to say, and here he's really pulling Tyler hard down the lane. You can see the ears are flopping in here. He continues to pull pretty aggressively around the turn as well. I thought this was a good work. I didn't think it was as good as Omaha Beach's. I think the biggest thing for me with War of Will coming out of this drill, I want to see how he's galloping. I want to see if he's able to relax a little bit, because he's tugging pretty hard here. He's going to show speed. I wouldn't be surprised to see him near the front in the Derby.
On a grade scale of A to F, what grade would you give him?
I'd give him a B on this one.
Well, what would Mark Casse give him?
I can give it an A+. He couldn't ask for more. He kind of had him shut down from probably the top of the lane. He went. I guess they got him 47-3. We got him 47-1 or something. But it's just, I don't think you could ask him to go any better. Galloped out nice, and so now we're a week away. A lot's been said about him. It was a fluke thing, overextended himself, probably just hitched his stifle just for megasecond or whatever. But we've even went back. We breezed him out of the gate at Keeneland. He worked spectacular out of the gate. So he's pretty tight. In fact, I think he's probably a little touch lighter than he was for the Louisiana Derby. So we've worked him a lot harder than we normally do to get ready for this race, simply because of the 6 weeks. So what you got to watch him work this morning. If you weren't impressed with him this morning, I don't know what we're supposed to do. But I've been seeing this for a long time, and that's why the hype.
You look this horse in the eye and you can tell he means business. And after what happened in the Louisiana Derby, back end broke out from under him, pulled a muscle a little bit. They have to be thrilled with where they are at this point.
Yeah, I think so. And not knowing how much he got out of that race, where his hind end kind of slipped out from underneath of him. Go back to the gate. They kind of get him cranked up there. And you can tell yesterday he's obviously feeling good. He's on the bit. He wants to run, and he's somewhat fresh in here. He's, like I said, I think he's going to be a pace factor in the Derby.
From Kentucky to the fairgrounds in Louisiana, all the way to Dubai and back, Plouquet Parfait also worked yesterday. And Brandon, this is a little bit of a different workout. We saw serious moves there from Omaha Beach and War of Will. This looks like more of a maintenance move for Plouquet Parfait.
Yeah, just did the job in here. He wore blinkers for the first time in the race in Dubai, so they're not on here. Just an easy 5/8, typical of this barn. We want to just get some stamina, just let the horse stretch his legs a little bit. You can see he passes the workmate here. And at this point, Brendan, probably go ahead and let's just shut him down, just get him safe to the wire, let him gallop out a little bit. But you can see he's moving well, straight as an arrow. The ears are up flopping. So it was a good drill in here. If you like this horse, there was nothing yesterday to talk you off of it.
That's what Brandon thinks. What does Brendan think, Walsh, about the work from Plouquet Parfait?
You know, we weren't looking for anything spectacular, because obviously with the travel and everything from Dubai, the last thing we want him to do is leave his race out on the track in the morning. You know, but he's on good terms with himself. You know, he's a little more aggressive than what he used to be a while back. So he was a little more aggressive early on, and he shook the lead horse off a little early, and then he kind of, like typical of him, then he kind of like just said okay, and he coasted along home. But you know, I wanted him to go 102 out in 15, and that's exactly what he did. So you know, he's doing everything right, so we're very happy with him right now, because he's definitely a stronger, more muscular horse than he was, we'll say, even 2 months back. I mean, I saw a huge change in the horse from when he left the fairgrounds to when he went to Florida to when he went to Dubai, and I think since he came back here. So you know, everything is positive with him right now.
Brandon, this horse is a tough read for me. Was not impressed by his efforts at fairgrounds this winter. But then he travels to Dubai, puts the blinkers on, seemingly a different horse. But the travel back here, he's done a lot in the last several months.
Yeah, and that's what you heard Brendan. They want to keep him fresh. And I like the energy level from what I've seen from this horse. Not, in my opinion, the biggest horse in the world, so the distance is a little bit of a concern. But maybe the blinkers helped out last time, helped let this horse relax and be more focused late. I think he's a live long shot. He's been based here since he was 2, and he could definitely be a threat at maybe 30, 40 to 1 to crash the exotics.
Well, jockey Julian Pimentel might be a man of few words, but Ed DeRosa is not. You want to try to get his viewpoint on what he's seen with these workers the last couple of days, Ed?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Always a pleasure to hear what Brandon thinks of these horses on the track, their body language, what they're doing. I think one of my skills is reading trainer body language. Years of writing for Thoroughbred Times and playing poker, hopefully an idea for their poker faces or not. And it's impossible to think that Richard Mandella's confidence in his horse is anything but sincere. He knows he's sitting on a good hand. If you bet into him, he's going to call. Love the smile he gives when he talks about this horse. He's certainly coming in with a worthy Derby favorite. Mark Casse, I think, acknowledges the hype. He even said so. I like to hear that from him. And I think even though he said he wasn't concerned, we asked him point blank if really no meaningful race in 11 weeks was a concern to him. I'd be shocked if it's not. And based on what we saw from that workout and what we wanted out of him, they're hoping to come in with a high fitness level. But as I've told everyone, I'm really looking forward to betting this horse going forward, regardless of what happens in the Kentucky Derby. A clear talent, and Mark knows it. But Richard Mandella definitely wins the award for most confident trainer thus far in the backside.
Well, thanks, Ed. And I saw Mark Cassidy at Fairgrounds all winter. He and David Carroll were over the moon confident about War of Will. And looking back to those races in Little Compton, the Risen Star, I could see why. A little bit of blip in the radar when it came to the Louisiana Derby, but this horse certainly looks to be back on track. Okay, so people are watching from all over the country. People are watching from all over the world. We welcome you, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the Kentucky Derby website. And not only are you watching and telling us where you're from, you know, from coast to coast and overseas as well, we want you to participate, ask questions. Brandon and I and Ed will try to get to as many of those as possible during the course of the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to take a short break on the Kentucky Derby Work Show. Don't forget the training period from 7:30 to 7:45. Lots of good stuff coming up next.
Kentucky Derby. Place legal wagers and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today. With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby Workout Show presented by TwinSpires.com. More and more people occupying the backstretch. It's only going to get busier and busier as the days move forward. Track is fast, cloudy skies, windy, temperature 55 degrees. Optimum conditions for the final works for some of the major players in the Derby and the Oaks. We're going to take a look at Game Winner's recent workout from Santa Anita, a recent arrival here at Churchill Downs for five-time winning Kentucky Derby trainer Bob Baffert. 2 Triple Crowns in the last 4 years, Brandon. 3 live shots this year, including the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and 2-year-old champion.
Only Bob Baffert would work a horse 7 furlongs a week before the Derby. I mean, he wants to make sure that fitness is not an issue in here. Maybe he thought fitness was a bit of an issue late in the Santa Anita Derby, but coming back with this very stiff 7/8 move in here, you can see a little bit of nudging late, but striding out to the wire in here. Seems like Game Winner's coming into this on top, and its fitness will not be an issue.
And he arrived yesterday. He has never been worse than second in 6 career starts, and second best in each of his last 2 races. But Brandon, this is a horse that did win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile here on this racetrack, which is certainly an advantage.
Very much so, and you would assume that Bob doesn't want this horse to peak too soon, so maybe coming back with this big 7/8 move out of the prep race in the Santa Anita Derby, it's all systems go in the Kentucky Derby.
And Game Winner did come out to the racetrack earlier this morning, and there he is. Game Winner making his first appearance. Looks like he's in good flesh, Brandon.
Wow.
Yeah, looks good.
Looks like if you put a Batman suit on a horse. I mean, look, he looks fantastic coming out of California. He's got a nice jog to him, and he's carrying great flesh. I'm impressed.
Yeah, this is our first look at him. Obviously not going to do too much first day on the track. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more from Game Winner in the coming days. We're also going to see a lot more from his stablemate Roadster, and we saw a lot from him in a recent workout, Brandon. 2 different horses, so to speak, maybe both mid-pack kind of stalkers, but Game Winner, the seasoned veteran for a young 3-year-old. He's already been to battle 6 times. Roadster is just starting to come back to his best form, and the Santa Anita Derby was a good indication of what we can see from him.
Yeah, a real nice handy horse in here. I'm really interested to see this horse in person because on TV he looks a little bit on the medium-sized build there versus like a Game Winner. So interested to see this horse in person, but he does everything right. Another horse similar to War of Will that was worked out of the gate after their recent start coming into the Derby. You just don't see that very often. So another one they may want to be more forwardly placed than last time, but you can't knock this work at all.
And Roadster also arriving with his stablemate game winner yesterday. And when Bob Baffert was talking about his best 2-year-olds during the season last year, this is this horse that he mentioned, Roadster. Obviously, you don't know how it's going to play out moving into the 3-year-old season, but before all is said and done, maybe he will be the best of the 3 that we've seen so far. I'm sure he's got a few others in the barn that he hasn't unveiled for the summer jewels yet.
Yeah, I think they call Roadster the TMZ horse, I believe.
Yeah, right.
Last year, someone asked him
The
about who his Derby
Bob.
winner. Yeah,
Yeah.
So it looks good, and interested to see him on track as well.
Okay, well, we're going to take a look back now, since we have an opportunity to have you on set for the first time, at your favorite works that you've seen so far leading up to the Kentucky Derby. And we're going to start with Tacitus. And all of us have been impressed by the way this horse floats over the ground. Looks like the distance might not be a problem. But tell us why you like this work, because on the stopwatch, it's not that great.
Yeah, it's just the way he does it in here in company. And if you watch some of the works from Payson Park this winter, very respected person that I hold in high regard, mentioned that maybe he didn't like the Payson Park track at all. And we saw Hidden Scroll beat Tacitus. We saw some other horses. He was deemed not a good workhorse in here, but he's just kind of chilling on the inside. He's got the ears flopping and then just kind of nudged late, striding out well. Got to see this horse train yesterday. Big horse, but very light on his feet in there. I like that.
Yeah. Bill Mott mentioned that he might work Tacitus with Country House. He says they're a nice match, so it'll be interesting to see if he does that today, but a really good gallop out from Tacitus. Now, the Buzz horse might be by my standards. This is a horse that has really emerged onto the scene, breaking his maiden, pulling off an upset in the Louisiana Derby, Brandon. He's been on the grounds for the better part of a month now, and he just keeps doing his thing.
Yeah, love the progression. Light bulb seemed to win on in the the Louisiana Derby. Big work in here. He looks like weather kind of threw him off a little bit, missed maybe a day or so because of the weather. So let's go ahead and work him 3/4 in here. You can see he's really reaching out well down the lane, and he's just going to get a little bit of a nudge late in here. They just want to make sure he gallops out with the wire, but he's hitting well. We've seen the gallops. I mean, the neck bowed. He's feeling good. This horse is coming in well, and I think this is for sure the Wise Guy horse, along with maybe War of Will now.
We thank Santa Anita for those workouts from Game Winner and Roadster, and we thank Naira for this workout from High Call. And when I saw your top 5 workouts, Brandon, I was looking very forward to seeing who you had on the list, and I was surprised to see High Call's name. But this horse intrigues me as well. Tell us what you like.
Yeah, this is I was a little surprised myself, but when you watch the work in here, he's got a stranglehold on this horse, but he's not throwing the head up or anything. He's relaxed in here, and you're talking about a closer that's up working through some decent splits, and he's sitting on the outside, but it's just the way he's doing it in here. You can tell he wants more. He's going to let him out just a notch near the wire, and he's going to go past the mate, and he's just going to kind of relax for him. I like this drill a lot. He's moving well, reaching out well. Love the way that right before you get to the end of the turn here, he's looking for more, and that's what I want to see in these drills, that he's looking for more, but he's not trying to run off or do more than the rider wants him to do.
High Call yet to arrive here at Churchill Downs, but a horse who's been here at least the earliest of the 3 Bob Bafferts is Improbable. Blinkers on for the Arkansas Derby, got really fractious in the starting gate. Bob said bad idea, still ran second though, which was promising.
Yeah, he did, and he freaked out in the starting gate, and even in the post parade, he was getting hot. He just didn't like the blinkers. So you can see here, we just I would just call this a leg stretcher in here. We're now at 48, not exactly just a 50, but it looked like 50, and he's just stretching the legs in here. You can see the ears are up. Beautiful stride on this horse, and the rider's hands just relaxed in here. Maybe a more serious move today, and I would expect the blinkers to stay off for the Derby.
He's not as big as imposing as Justify, but he looks like him with that big white blaze, the chestnut coloring of Improbable, and obviously the same trainer and a lot of the same connections as well. Looks like Improbable off of this work will be forwardly placed in the Kentucky Derby. Improbable with that workout the other day in 48 seconds flat. He's going to have one more work leading up to the run for the Roses. Taking a look at the people gathering on the backstretch, looking very forward to that buzz continuing to build. A lot of radio stations, a lot of TV stations here on the backstretch at Churchill Downs, awaiting the sight of some of these horses, and a massive crowd to greet Bob Baffert's 2 horses off the van yesterday, and that buzz, as I mentioned, will continue to grow here under the Twin Spires. I'll check back in with Ed DeRosa on the backstretch. Ed, lots of people out there, and it's only going to get more crowded as the days go on.
Yeah, I'd certainly welcome it this morning. Could use some body heat back here, Joe, with the win. But real pleasure listening to Brandon go back through some of these workouts. And personally, as a handicapper, someone who really looks forward to betting the Kentucky Derby each year, I always remind people, look, it's not about what Brandon's saying, trying to pick one winner like, oh, I've seen all these horses and this is the horse who's going to win the Derby. I love using his information to figure out who's going the right way, who's coming into this race in the best form to fire his best shot at a mile and a quarter. And sometimes that best shot isn't good enough to win, but if you can get a horse like High Call in the number, or I know Golden Soul several years ago is a horse Brisnet Clocker Bruno liked, at those prices, that's all that matters to me is be right about them and get them in the number at a big price, and you can cash these exotics that make betting the Derby so much fun. So really great to hear Brandon, and looking forward to his thoughts after these workouts, Joe.
Well, thanks, Ed, and Gary Young doing videos for Twin Spires with Scott Shapiro. Like to hear his insights as well. We're going to switch gears from the Kentucky Derby to the Kentucky Oaks, and Bella Fina, she is number one on the list. She is number one in a lot of people's hearts, and she's going to be the odds-on favorite, Brandon.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting favorite because if you're a Sheets guy, if we try to use all kinds of services in here, but this horse has a history of maybe regressing after big efforts in here. So I think Bella Fina is a very vulnerable favorite in the Oaks.
Well, when you talk about regressing, you're going to see a workout post Santa Anita Oaks here, courtesy of our friends at Santa Anita. Bella Fina's most recent move. Brandon, tell us what you see.
Yeah, typically she's been working solo in here. You don't want this runner to do too much. Very talented, a very expensive buy, $800,000 last year as a 2-year-old. So a little bit of a wide look up front in here, but she really travels well behind. And just a light hold to the line in here. You just want to keep this horse happy. Everything's about keeping the horses happy here. And just nice stride to the wire. But what I look for, too, a lot of the time is the push they're getting from behind. And she looks fit. She looks like she's getting a good push, and nothing to knock in there.
Going to have several challengers, obviously, in the Oaks. Not quite sure who the second choice is going to be. But we do know that Out for a Spin won the Ashland, and she did it at a price, and she has good natural speed, and she's got some upside for Dallas Stewart.
Yeah, and I liked her as a 2-year-old. She trained well here for Dallas, and Dallas doesn't have anything in the Derby this year, but he has no problem winning the Kentucky Oaks. He's done it with the long shot before, and got to see this horse gallop as well yesterday. She's coming into the race really good. Her last race was a big step forward in here. You can see that right ear. I love to see that right ear, even the left one. See it there? Flicking back, wanting to know, do you want me to keep going? I love to see that. This horse is coming in really well.
Now, Out for a Spin has speed. Bella Fina probably a little bit of a stalker. One of the deep closers is going to be Chocolate Kisses. And there's a difference, I would think, Brandon, between the horses that have speed and the horses that stalk and the horses that like to close. And we're going to get some insight into Chocolate Kisses' work from her trainer, Mark Casse.
I thought she went great. She loves this. She loves Churchill Downs. We're lucky. Both her and Wow love Churchill Downs. I had said last year, I breezed her last fall here, and she breezed as good as any 2-year-old filly I've ever trained. So we're excited. We're going to throw the last one out. We're going to try a new strategy. Well, not a new strategy. We're going back to the old strategy. Went out at Keeneland. The track was playing so biased that I asked Tyler to keep her close, and I think it ended up hurting her. So we're going to go back to the back of the bus and hope the pace is fast, which it looks like it should be, and come running.
And the Kentucky Oaks draw. It's hard to believe it's tomorrow, 10:45 in the morning. 14-horse limit for the Kentucky Oaks. It will be a full gate post-position draw. Brandon and I will be joining you along with Ed DeRosa and Travis Stone. And you can watch both the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby draw, which comes up on Tuesday, presented by Ram, on all of these social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, and also the Kentucky Derby website. We're going to not only show you the draw, but put together a little presentation and a full-blown show out of it as well. So the Oaks on Monday and the Kentucky Derby draw on Tuesday, both at 10:45 Eastern Time. 7:30 is the magical time on these mornings for the start of the designated training period for the Derby and Oaks horses. And when we come back live, all kinds of important workouts, By My Standards, Tacitus, and a whole lot more. We'll be back right after this.
With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
Where the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. It's summer, the people are gay. The corn tops ripe and the fields are all in bloom, and the birds make music all the day.
Today, we share the best of Kentucky. It's our Woodford way.
With TwinSpires.com, you can bet the Kentucky Derby, place legal wagers, and watch live horse racing on any device. New players download now to start your $100 sign-up bonus. Sign up, play, and win today.
We saw Code of Honor as we headed to break, and now we see him live on the racetrack for what will be, we believe, his final Kentucky Derby work. We believe he's going to work today. Code of Honor, trained by Shug McGaughey, occupying the same stall as 2013 Kentucky Derby winner Orb. And this is an interesting horse, Brandon. Winner of the Fountain of Youth, tried to close into a slow pace behind Maximum Security in the Florida Derby.
Yeah, and maybe a possible regression off of a very big effort in the Fountain of Youth. Florida Derby, the pace was so slow in there. You used the Brisnet pace figures. Extremely slow pace in there that Maximum Security set. So this one looking for a rebound effort, but Shug's done it before. He can do it again.
And there's Roadster, first opportunity to see him in the flesh. You said wow about Game Winner. What are your thoughts on Roadster?
Yeah, he looks good in there. I would say that Game Winner kind of caught the eye a little more, but nothing here to knock. One thing, too, we talk about first time seeing these horses on the track, you don't really want to knock them too much. You want to get to know them a little bit and see how they're traveling. I like to see a good jog coming out, and that's what you're getting from Roadster.
From Roadster to Improbable, and he's on his toes. He's he's feeling a little bit fresh this morning, Brandon.
Yeah, the cool breeze. It is a little windy here. The wind is actually, we've gone from a tailwind to a headwind to a crosswind. So, he's feeling frisky. If I have to recognize that helmet, I believe that could be Florent Giroux up.
Which means we're probably going to have it work. I mean, there's been some talk that he's going to work today.
Yeah, it looks like Giroux, that's typically the same helmet that Florent wears. It'll be interesting to see if there's any company today, too. But I'll tell you what, in California, Baffert wasn't working Improbable that much in company, so maybe not. We'll see. But you can see no blinkers in there after the freak out in the gate. And just, it's amazing, really, that Improbable ran as well as he did. Off of that freak out in the gate, the getting hot in the post parade in there.
Bad part of the track early on.
Yeah, and this horse is just game. He'll do whatever you want, and I believe I would go ahead and say that's Florent up, and we're going to see it work.
Yeah, half-mile work in 48 seconds flat, just 9 days after the Arkansas Derby. Good sign to you that he worked back so quick?
Yeah, we just want to see a nice leg-stretching move in here. One thing I wanted to mention, too, about Bob Baffert, everybody knows how great he really is, but individualization of these horses. Take a look at he brings Improbable to Churchill, takes the blinkers off. He knows what he wants there. He's got Game Winner working 7 furlongs, saying, I'm not bringing a short horse back to Churchill. He's got Roadster working out of the gate after winning the Santa Anita Derby. He's not doing the same thing with every horse. He's doing something different for what they need for this race.
There's another look at Code of Honor scheduled to breeze here this morning for Shug McGaughey. We haven't had too many chances to see him live on the track during the Derby training period. He's been coming out a little bit early on most mornings, but Code of Honor making a nice appearance. And Brandon, you talk about knocking horses. I haven't seen one of these Derby horses or Oaks horses that I could really knock per se. Some of them making a little bit more of a positive impression than others, but you've got to like what you see out of Code of Honor on the track right now.
Yeah, passing right behind us now. He's like I said, I want to see just a nice jog out for the work in here. You can see the ears are kind of just going back and forth a little bit. He probably knows something's up, and the one thing with Code of Honor, Joe, is the Dixie Union on the bottom. That kind of worries me a little bit as far as getting the distance in there, but Shug's going to have this horse fit. He's going to have it ready, and experience is huge here. Once you've done it before, if you've been in the big races, you know how to bring horses in the right way.
One of 4 May foals is Code of Honor, so Shug is also looking to the future with this horse as well. There's Tacitus, and he continues to impress more and more and more every time I see him. You love his build. He's by Tapit. Tapit hasn't won the Derby yet, but he has won the Belmont on several occasions as a stallion. And this horse, Brandon, again this morning, doesn't matter what he does. If he's cantering, if he's jogging, if he's galloping, if he's working, he just floats over the track.
Yeah, excuse me, yeah. And if you remember from the Breeders' Cup shows or even some of the Derby shows, Bill Mott does things a little bit differently in here. He lets the horses gallop around once before the work, and then he gets the signal from the rider to say, hey, this horse is feeling good, and then they'll go ahead and go on with the work. So I believe that's what you're going to see here. You're going to see, you can see those ears. I mean, beautiful ears pricked. I mean, this horse is feeling good. Talked about how a bigger horse, but he's very light on his feet. So they'll probably let him come down the lane, warm up a little bit, and we can see Code of Honor here about to break off. We'll see Tacitus take a little lap around, and then probably the rider will give the signal to Bill whether or not they want to drill or not.
I like what you said about Tacitus. A bigger horse, but he's light on his feet. You don't see that very often. It's a good combination. There you see Code of Honor. It looks like he's getting revved up.
Yeah, he's going to lower that head. Now he kind of knows, okay, I'm going to be able to do some work in here. You can see him getting a little bit fresh into the pole, but rider's going to go ahead and take a hold, and then they're going to go ahead and break off in here. Now, from our view here in the infield, we've got the tents, so we can't really see. I would assume this looks like he's going a half. We'll see that red pole there. So he's going to go ahead and break off in here, and you don't want to do anything too serious before the Derby, but if this horse is feeling good, it all depends on what Shug wants to do. If he says, hey, I want you to go out there and work 48, or I want you to go work out 50, that's why these trainers, they're good at what they do. They know the horses, and we're going to see here nice long stride in here. He's got a long hold. I love to watch the rider's hands. Watch the hands. He keeps them low. He's trying to keep the horse relaxed and changes leads on cue in there. And this horse looks good down the lane so far. You can see the rider's still up in the irons. Ears are kind of flopping back and forth. You just want to see a happy horse striding out well to the wire, getting a good push from behind. You want to see all that here. And straight as an arrow. Nothing really to knock so far. He's going to come down the lane and looks good to the wire. Maybe just a little bit of a nudge. You saw the rider just kind of nudge him there. He wants him to finish up a little bit around the turn, get a little extra something on the gallop out.
I've been told that Improbable working behind Code of Honor. We are getting that on tape. We will get an opportunity to see that as Code of Honor continues through his gallop out here, and what was a pretty nice move. Again, follow Derby Media on Twitter to get the fastest workout times, not only the final time, but the splits as well. Hoping to get some workout times from Kevin Kirstein as we move forward. Very good at getting me those times so we can report them as quickly as possible for the workouts here this morning, and there will be several more that we'll try to get to during the course of the next 10 minutes or so. But overall, a good work there from Code of Honor. There's a shot of Tacitus being ponied right now, Brandon, and like you said, Bill Mott doing things a little bit differently than a lot of trainers. But when they break away from the pony, this work is about to start.
Yeah, and it looks like what you said is coming to fruition here. It looks like we've got Country House on the inside, and
oh yeah, that's right, Country House. There you go.
Yeah, and then Tacitus on the outside in here. So Tacitus looks like he's going to start about a half length back in here, and Country House being a closer, it's a different scenario to maybe put him in front and maybe get his attention going a little bit. Yeah, we got a little bit of traffic. Looks like another set of gallopers, maybe. This is okay. So I believe
workout.
Is this long range Toddy possibly on the outside with a workmate in here, or no? That may be win on the outside in there.
Look at this.
This is nice. Often. So even though the track is specifically for Derby and Oaks workers, you can see how crowded it can get sometimes in here. So I'm going to say that's win. That's going to go 4 wide in here with a workmate. You've got Country House on the inside. So now we're getting this is a great shot in here, head-on shot. Country House in 1, what I like to say post 1, Tacitus on the outside, and then you've got win in the 4 slot, maybe even 5 wide out there. We'll see who's going to finish up in here. Mott's not going to want to do too much to the line. You can see win. This is a nice work from win. Just a little bit of nudging late. He's going to finish up.
Nudging, yeah.
Tacitus may be encouraged just a little bit in there. So it's an interesting look for the fans.
Was that by design, Brandon, or did that happen by complete accident?
I think it was just by accident. You could see that the team was maybe trying to break off at the same time these horses hit the pole. Now look, win starting to re-engage. I like to see this. Win re-engaging the 2 Motts on the gallop out, saying, look, you're not going to I want to be competitive. I'm going to go back out here and try to compete with you guys. So this is a really cool shot here. I don't know if I've ever seen this on our Derby Work show where you have three workers at the same time kind of battling each other. Country House looked like he had a slight head in front at the wire. Not too concerning to me. I mean, they probably didn't want to do too much with Tacitus. Both of those horses are closers. We're getting a shot here of win-win-win. I thought that was a nice move in there.
We've got our eyes on By My Standards after that. Very intriguing four-horse team. Unplanned there. Two different horses in company. Country House and Tacitus, both Derby horses, and then win-win-win with a stablemate coming four wide there, putting away the stablemate and engaging with the two mock horses into the gallop out there. Very interesting move. Win-win-win shutting it down a little bit earlier than the two motts who continued their gallop out past the kitchen. Here's By My Standards.
Yeah, and we've got Gabe Saez up. I just wanted to mention too, Joe, so this period we all know it's for Oaks and Derby horses, but just to kind of give some extra credit to these jockeys and the exercise riders, what they do on a normal basis, that happens all the time during morning works. And, these guys are really good at what they do, and just hats off to them. If you see the jockeys, the exercise riders, just, always wish them good luck out there because it is a little bit dangerous. You saw how professional they handled it, though. The riders on all those horses took care of their horses, and they made sure that everybody came back safe.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's even during this exclusive training period, as more and more horses arrive for the Derby and Oaks, you're going to have 25 horses out there, and a lot of them are on the same schedule. They're on the same schedule because they're all pointing for a race either Friday or Saturday. So we have very, very busy work days like yesterday and today, and it can get a little bit messy out there like we just saw. So good job by all of those riders, and a very intriguing work and a very competitive one. Maybe not what the trainers were expecting, but we got to see quite a bit from those three Derby horses in that work. And By My Standards with the pony here, we talked about it earlier, Brandon. This horse is really taking his game to the next level. Maiden win, light bulb went off. Louisiana Derby win, legitimized himself. Now we'll see just how good he is, but he couldn't be better than what we've seen in the mornings the last few weeks.
Yeah, he looks like he's carrying good flesh in here, and we'll see how far they're going to go. Looks like a solo drill. He's been working everything solo, so no issues there. He's got that big, nice, strong hip. This is a horse that by Golden Sense, and still a bit of a young sire. We're trying to figure out how far they can go. Myself, personally, I remember being down on the show with you at the fairgrounds when this horse broke his maiden. I thought maybe he was a one-turn horse, but it was almost like the light bulb maybe went on, and then he carried that maiden win into a win in the Louisiana Derby. And you can see that neck bow. That's kind of a typical trademark of By My Standards, that neck boat in there. Gabe's just trying to keep him relaxed to the line. It looks like they're going to go a half. They just passed the 5/8 pole. You'll see the red pole coming up here in just a second. And go ahead, and you can see those ears already flopping back and forth, telling me that he's very relaxed going into the pole. He's into the bit, but he's not throwing the head up, which you like to see. So they're going to go ahead and start the drill in here, and Gabe's just sitting high. Just wants to keep this horse happy, and really like the push on this horse. And you'll see down the lane in here, the push this horse gets from behind may be what can help overcome maybe some distance limitations in here. The fact that he is so strong behind. And hit the quarter pole here. Gabe hasn't moved on him. You can see the ears up. Good lead change, and you just watch those hind legs behind. He's really getting a good push, and love the ears on this horse. I mean, this horse is relaxed. You can see that left ear is pricked. That right ear is kind of flopping a little bit, like, hey, do you want me to do something down the lane? And we'll see probably near the wire, Gabe's going to just you can see him drop his head too, which you'll want to see too down the lane. But Gabe maybe just a little bit of nudging, let him gallop out a little bit in here. Nice work. Nothing to knock. Looked good down the lane. So Calhoun camp has to be happy.
One of the most intriguing things about this year's Derby is you've got some horses that like to be forwardly placed, but you've got no horses that are need-to-lead types. Then you've got a big chunk of horses, probably 10 of them, that like to sit, in a stalking position. I would guess By My Standards is one of those. Theoretically, they want to sit 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, but within 5 or 6 lengths of the lead. It's going to be very interesting into the first turn as these jockeys, for lack of a better word, jockey for position.
Yeah, and we're seeing here too, Joe, on the screen, big gallop out from By My Standards. Looks like he's going all the way back. Maybe even, it's hard to tell from where we're at, but it looks like possibly even 7/8, maybe even a mile. like the way that Gabe's handling it. He's not grabbing him and trying to. He's basically slowly letting him pull himself up.
Serengeti Empress with a big workout at a 58 in her most recent move, and she's out on the racetrack again now for Tom Amoss. Speaking of question marks, huge performance in the Rachel Alexandra to win for fun, and then she had a breathing issue in the Fairgrounds Oaks, and she faded through the field as the odds-on favorite. But much like War of Will, she's bounced back nicely since then and appears to be sitting on go.
Yeah, big, fast work. Joe, the track's been pretty quick, so we saw a lot of big works. Time-wise, you can see the ears up there. Just trying to keep this horse happy. Now, I think Tom would agree. He's in the analyst business as well. Tom would agree that this horse has some questions. We've got the last race last time that we need to have answered. Also, her rating ability. We've never seen her be able to successfully rate. So those are two big questions going into the Oaks in here. Draw will be somewhat important, I think, but in the works, she's been able to sit behind mates, so maybe not as big of a question, but it is a big difference between the AM and the PM.
Yeah, and the question of the pace in the race with Motion Emotion and a few others wanting to show speed as well. We've got the Improbable work. There is another Baffert horse out there. He's going to work in company. This is just moments ago on tape. Improbable working. The work before this was 48 seconds flat. Brandon, what is the strategy here?
Yeah, I mean, typical Baffert, you're going to have a horse maybe sit 3 or 4 lengths behind a mate, and actually Improbable is into the bit pretty early, and you can see Giroux trying to hold this one back. Excuse me. A little headstrong in here. This is interesting. We saw this in California, this horse wanting to kind of cock the head out, and we'll see down the lane. Watching this horse train in California on the video, several works this horse has kind of cocked the head out. Now you can see kind of passes the mate in here, he's tugging pretty good in here, so we'll see what happens down the lane. And Giroux's doing a good job. He doesn't want this horse to do too much in here. Very strong on the bit, pulling hard, and passes the workmate in here. And then we'll see, get this horse to maybe drop his head a little bit. Always has a good stride, Improbable does, and the ears are flopping in here. Florent did a great job of getting Improbable to relax down the lane, really now stretching out to the wire. He's still up on the mate a little bit. He's not really drawing away, but he's got the head straight. He looks good, but big reach down the lane. Big credit there to Florent keeping Improbable relaxed down the lane.
Improbable is going to ride Roadster for Bob Baffert, but aboard Improbable for this work. And I really like you said, the way he strode out down the lane. He's cocking his head to the side. Is that maybe one of the reasons why Bob elected to try blinkers in the first place? Obviously that didn't work. Now the blinkers go off. Does that concern you at all about his focus?
It maybe does a little bit when you get into a big field. If Improbable has speed, but I don't think he's going to be on that first flight. I think he's going to be sitting maybe right behind them. So he's going to have to pick up some targets in there. But he showed back at Los Al in December that he could do that. And I think the best thing is you want to have this horse coming in and doing the best you can. And I don't think that's with the blinkers. I think it's without them. And I thought this was a good move.
All right, that's the work from Improbable. We are going to get those workout times as soon as we can and pass them along to you. We see the jogs, we see the gallops, we see the works, and we see the schooling, not only in the paddock, Brandon, but here at the starting gate. And here's Leora.
Yeah, I had a question on social media from Damon Stinson about gate schooling, working out of the gate, and whether this was a normal thing. And yeah, this is a normal thing in here. People just want to have their horses, these trainers that even though they've won the big races, this is why they win the big races. It's little things like this, taking your horses to the gate, getting them comfortable with it. It's also good for the starters too. The starters sometimes, I mean, Leora has been based here, but horses coming from California, Florida, the starters aren't familiar with them. So they need to come over, they need to get approved at the gate, and not really get approved, but just make sure that the starters are comfortable with them when they go into that gate. They don't want any surprises. I mean, nobody wants to have something happen in the starting gate that hurts their chances in here. So it's a little bit for the starters as well, a lot for the horses, just to get that experience of going in the gate. You can see that the starters patting the head there. Could be the same guy that puts Leora in the gate. So this is a big part of it, and this is something, too, that people don't see in the mornings. You're watching the breezes in the morning, the gallops, but guys like Asmussen, Catalano, a lot of these guys will take their horses over to the gate and just get them comfortable.
Remember, we race Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday leading up to Oaks and Derby Day, and you're going to see a lot of schoolers in the paddock. So if you come here to Churchill Downs, come on down to the paddock. You never know who you're going to see. One of the great experiences of being here a little bit early on Derby week. We saw a non-typical work earlier. It was a working company between two Derby horses, which was interesting enough, between Country House and Tacitus, and then joining the fray was Win and his workmate, Brandon.
Yeah, no, this was really cool. Like I said, it happens a lot in the mornings. We don't see it as often with these Oaks Derby time frames in here, but it was nice. You can see the two jockeys, Win. And
so
then,
that's Country House on the rail, Tacitus on the outside, and
yeah.
Win is the widest.
Yeah, what I would call in the four-path, and then the workmate. But you saw that Win with Julian Pimentel up, and then the workmate, the exercise rider there, they actually pulled back off the team. That was nice to see.
Yep.
Go ahead and let them do their work in here. You can see the workmate for Win is kind of being nudged on in here and pretty much done at this point. I would call it maybe almost 5 wide out there, Win, and kind of gives him a little nudge and takes off down the lane. Now, we don't have the times yet. I don't know how fast the Mott team went, but Country House with a little head in front there. Like I said, not a huge deal. You can see Tacitus kind of re-engages past the wire, but like what I saw from Win. I'd just like to see that fight, and then you can see again on the gallop out, they're on even terms, but watch Win grab the bit again and kind of re-engage the team and say, like, hey, you're not going to get in front of me. I like to see that kind of stuff. Shows me that this horse wants to compete, and this is a horse maybe I might move up a little bit as far as my gimmicks go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Obviously, we know that the Bill Mott team, Bill didn't want them to do too much. Win nudged a little bit there, but really responded, re-engaged
and
on the gallop out as well.
Sorry, Joe. Watch Tacitus, too, here, kind of grab the bit as well. So I wouldn't read too much into it. You know, it's not so much all about who's up at the wire in there. It is sometimes, but in that work, you saw Tacitus was still grabbing the bit, wanting to do a little more.
That was fun to watch. We enjoyed it. I'm sure Ed DeRosa did as well. Ed, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was a blast. Glad I kept my earpiece in to hear you guys, because I knew what was coming on the gallop out, and to see those horses across the track was a lot of fun back here. Trainer Mark Cassidy, who sent War Will out to his final work yesterday, had the morning off from the Derby and Oaks work time, so he actually was out there about the 7/8 pole scouting the competition guys, and I asked him about this situation with Win and the Mott duo, and he said he was definitely concerned about what might develop from those horses sort of going together but not meaning to, and he thought they all handled it very professionally, and told me he was impressed watching them gallop out, that they didn't let it get to any of them. So from Mark Cassidy, one trainer, to the others, he liked what he saw and also enjoyed it as much as we did.
Very good. It's always interesting to see what you're going to see, what you're going to hear Derby week. Some of these Hall of Fame trainers chatting back and forth. It's always nice to be a fly on the wall and kind of overhear what they're discussing. And one of those Hall of Fame trainers is Shug McGahee, who had Code of Honor work a little bit earlier. First one we got our eyes on this morning. He was eager to get it going, and he certainly did.
Yeah, I would assume that he's going to be happy with the work here. We'll get the splits later, but looked good in here. You know, riders do such a good job. You can tell the best riders when they have horses that get a little bit headstrong into the pole and they just drop those hands and they get the horse to relax. I mean, it's so important. As we talk about it all the time, especially for these big races, the route races, 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles, 1 3/16. Get these horses to relax a little bit early on, because if they use up too much energy early, they're not going to have anything late. So Ryder did a nice job in here, dropping the hands, getting this horse to relax in here. He's kind of almost like, I don't think he's the biggest horse in the world, but he's kind of like a little bullet. You know, he kind of puts that head down. He's a little bit narrow up front, but very efficient in there. He gets a good push from behind. You know, his sire, Noble Mission, turf horse, and this horse is a nice dirt horse. And like I said, Joe, I'm a little bit concerned about the Dixie Union on the bottom, but physically and the way this horse is moving, I think you have to give this workout a good grade.
And you know what? Shug McGahee is a Hall of Fame trainer because he looks at the big picture. Not to say, if you like Code of Honor, to jump off of him because of what I'm about to say, but this is a May foal. This is a horse that certainly is developing. He knows this is going to be a good horse moving forward, and you know, this horse has obviously has a bright future, and Shug is a little bit conservative by nature. He's ready to run in the Kentucky Derby. He certainly deserves to be there. But this is a horse I think you're going to see perhaps bigger and better things as the year goes on.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I asked myself the question when he was in the Fountain of Youth, what's he doing here? you know, after that poor effort in the Mucho Macho Man.
Right.
But then you think about it, well, this is Shug McGahee. If he's thinks his horse is right, he's going to have him in this spot. Well, you think the same thing too. He's bringing his horse to the Derby off of the Florida Derby, third place effort. What's he doing here? Well, he must think he has a shot. So he wouldn't be here if he didn't think he had a shot.
Well, based on what we've seen from this Brett Calhoun trainee owned by Chester Thomas, his standards have become pretty high. And By My Standards continuing to do what he's been doing for weeks, impressing us in the mornings.
Yeah, I mean, good group of workers this morning. By My Standards doing what he does. He's always been a pretty nice worker. I remember seeing him as a 2-year-old before he made his debut. Impressed me then, and just continues to get better. You're looking for horses this time of the year that are peaking. They're ready to, the light bulb has gone on, so to say. And I mentioned that earlier, that seems like down in the New Orleans, his last 2 races, they got better and better. Like the way this guy kind of fights through traffic, too. He just looks like he wants to run, and you can see that right ear cocked back, waiting for Gabe Saez to possibly give him a cue at the wire. But he's just relaxed. He's just having fun out there. Love the stride down the lane. Drops the head a little bit near the wire, and then I remember with Finley's Lucky Charm, too, and this is kind of the way Brett trains. They get a lot on the gallop out. Like the way that By My Standards galloped out in here. At first, it didn't look like he was going to do a whole lot on the gallop out, but maybe it looks like it's hard to tell from that view. Maybe flagged the stick at him a little bit or just kind of chirped at him. But you can see right here he really picks it up. And look at those ears just kind of flopping. Love to see that. The horse is very relaxed out there, and he's having fun. And there he goes, a little nudge from Gabe just to kind of go again. Big gallop out in here, and this was impressive. Also, too, we talk about the riders also. Love the way that Gabe is pulling this horse up. He's not yanking on the reins.
Right.
He's slowly letting the horse relax. Anything can happen here. The horse, if you pull the horse up too hard, too fast, neck injury, anything could happen in here. So Gabe very relaxed. You can see I talked about the hands, keeping them low. He's letting this horse pull himself up basically, and just like that drill a lot. I mean, I thought it was a good day. This is a good group.
Now going into this work, By My Standards was number 1 on Ed DeRosa's Kentucky Derby top 10 list. Ed, does he remain there?
He does. I think only the number 1 post position would keep him from being number 1 on my list right now. And he was number 1 on someone else's list, Joe and Brandon. I mentioned earlier I talked to Mark Hasse, and he called this unquestionably the best work that he saw today. The gallop out, agree with Brandon. That's all I can see live. I thought it was very strong. Horse was not slowing down until the very end of the footage we saw, and really liked the poise he showed under Gabriel Saez. So I'm on board. Mark's on board other than his horse maybe. Certainly looked good today. Certainly like the comments I heard from Brandon. So, yeah, it's going to be all systems go for me. I think at about 20 or 25 to 1, Joe. Just have to wait for that pill pull. But what a morning out here at Churchill Downs.
And that pill pull will happen at 10:45 in the morning on Tuesday for the Derby, 10:45 in the morning Eastern time tomorrow, Monday for the Oaks. And we don't have the workout times yet. Again, follow Derby Media on Twitter for those workout times. They should be posted momentarily, not only the final times, but also the very important splits as well. All right, we got some questions coming in from social media. Let's see what we can find here. Here's a good one, and this is a social question. Brandon, how many times have you been to the Kentucky Derby? I'm kind of leading into this. It's from Justin on Twitter. And you're from here. I mean, this is everything to people from here, and obviously from people around the world and horse racing fans too. But what is the best way to experience the Kentucky Derby in your mind?
I think it really depends on what you want to do. If you want to come out and maybe party a little bit, if you want to hang out with your friends and you don't really want to get dressed up, then go to the infield. Infield's a great time, lots of people out there. But if you want to get dressed up a little bit, if you want to have a seat, maybe get a box, that's a good way to do it. If you're just going to come out for maybe half of the day, just buy a general admission ticket and walk around. I mean, I think it just really depends on what your goal is for the day. Some people just like to go to the paddock a few times and then take off. Well, then just get the general admission ticket or get your group of friends together, a box of 6, and you'll have a blast there.
A lot of it depends on your budget as well, right? Not only with what you're going to pay for tickets, but what your gambling budget is for the day, too. So many great ways to experience the Kentucky Derby. I've been in the infield several times. That's quite an experience. I've also been in the suites. The year Giacomo won, I was sitting right across from George Steinbrenner. That was a great experience. And honestly, Brandon, I'm privileged. You're privileged, Ed DeRosa, Scott Shapiro, James Scully, to do these shows every morning and bring the action to the people. I would choose this spot right here as my best experience.
Yeah, and I mean, there's just something special too about being in the paddock on Oaks and Derby Day. I mean, I think I'm very grateful to be able to do that and bring the fans the information on the simulcast feed, and I think that's really special for me just because I grew up coming to the track with my grandpa, and we would hang in the paddock. So to be able to do this now from the paddock, for me, that's the most special experience.
All right, Ed DeRosa, Brandon, and I have given our Derby experiences, a few of them anyways. Talk about yours and give us a final thought.
Yeah, this will be Derby 17 for me of the 145 they've had. And for me, the Derby is all about the experiences within the experience. And wherever you are on track or at home watching on NBC, my old Kentucky home is the can't-miss moment of the day besides the race itself. Always emotional, always special, and encourage anyone, whether you're here or at home, to make sure that the volume is up and you're tuned in for that special moment. A lot of special moments this week and this morning. Great, as you said, privilege to see these horses work. We might have one or two tomorrow. Not sure what the plan is, but we'll certainly see some of yesterday's workers back on the track Monday morning, and then things really get going in earnest heading into Oaks Derby weekend. Joe and Brandon with the Kentucky Oaks draw, as you said, Monday, Derby draw Tuesday. Can't wait to be a part of it, and really looking forward to it.
Well, thanks, Ed. D. Wayne Lukas on his pony, Bill Mott on his pony, and Mark Cassidy on the ground standing between them, kind of the net between little game of badminton between two Hall of Famers.
Yeah, pretty cool little shot there. I'd like to see Mark Cassidy get on a pony.
I
don't know if I've ever seen that out here. So
he's taking requests. Your final thought? We saw a lot of good stuff today. I know you were impressed by the workers. Final thought? Something you were most impressed with?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. The appearance of Game Winner on track really caught my eye. So we'll see how he does his week here. Win, a horse that I was considering. He's going to be a long shot for the exotics. I thought he handled everything well today, and love to see him re-engage on the gallop out. By my standards, was moving well, and I thought it was just a good day overall for Works.
Yeah, I would say for me, all of that is impressive. By my standards is just a little machine. He just keeps doing his thing and rooting for local connections. Chester Thomas of Allied Racing grew up near Ellis Park. So, we have our handicapping connections. We have our betting connections. We also have our personal connections. And people we root just a little bit more for, Chester would certainly be on the top of that list. Okay, we talked earlier about coming to the Kentucky Derby. We know you all can't make it here. There's going to be 170,000 people here, perhaps, but a lot of you are going to be watching from home, whether you're a fan, a party host, a horse player, memorabilia collector, or all of the above. Order the official Kentucky Derby 145 souvenir program. It will be shipped right to your front door in time for the Kentucky Derby, and you can do that and find a lot more great stuff at KentuckyDerbyParty.com. That's going to wrap it up for a Sunday edition of the Kentucky Derby Work Show. Derby week is officially here. We'll be back on the show tomorrow at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll follow up with the Kentucky Oaks draw at 10:45 in the morning. Looking very, very forward to that. Brandon Staubel, myself, and Ed DeRosa, along with Travis Stone, hosting the Kentucky the Kentucky Oaks draw, the Longines Kentucky Oaks, which will be run on Friday. The draw again tomorrow, Monday at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time. For the entire Churchill Downs crew, have a great remainder of your Sunday, everybody.